Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to start the next session here on the Spotlight stage and hear from two different companies about over-the-top. Versus is such a strong term. Over-the-top and telco, right? Why embrace versus when it can be together? This is Silicon Valley. So I'm joined here today by Bill Lees, who's from Cinarra, and from Moshita from Kimera. And we're going to hear a little bit more about what they're doing, how they're collaborating with telcos to help bring new value in that mix between over-the-top and traditional telco. And Bill, kick it off, give us a little background on what you guys are doing.
Sure. Thank you very much. My name is Bill Lees. I'm Vice President of Product Management at Cinarra Systems. What we're doing is we're helping mobile operators unlock the value of some of the data assets that they're sitting on, but they haven't previously been able to monetize. And that's specifically consumer real-time streaming location information. So what we've been able to do is connect operators with large-scale advertising systems through what are called real-time bidding networks to allow them to monetize this data through advertising. So this allows them to participate in the ad ecosystem that they've been missing out on, and to do it in a way that's privacy preserving for their customers. So we are fully commercial from last year with SoftBank. So SoftBank is our flagship customer and also our lead Series B backer. So we're very active in the Japanese market.
As I'd say in Japan, sugoi na. Okay, Mo, tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Munir Sita, and I'm the founder and CEO of Kimera Systems. And I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, because what we're trying to do is OTT versus telcos.
Oh, versus. Can't we all get along?
So we're working towards a vision where everything is connected, and we simply don't believe that OTT fits in that supply chain in the future. So our goal is to deliver intelligence technology, so artificial intelligence, to devices, because we believe that the reason OTT exists is because devices are dumb and networks are dumb. They don't know what we want, and OTT makes it very easy for us to find stuff on the internet. But if the devices and networks were intelligent, if they understood what's going on in the world and understood what we needed to get done, they could go out and find the stuff that we need and bring it to us automatically, just simply bypassing the entire middleman layer. And that's what we're working towards.
Okay, so so basically we're saying all apps are bad. We'll make the device smart enough, it'll go find the things for us, and we're going to kill Google in the process.
No. We want apps. We just don't need app stores.
You'll see apps. Okay. So effectively, your device will come and say, "This is the app you're looking for." Okay. All right. And Bill, what you guys are doing on Cinarra Systems effectively is also taking that notion of context with location and using that to help the carriers participate in that discovery of ads in this case. But ads are all about driving awareness and then consideration and then purchase kind of a thing. You guys are both kind of nibbling at the edges around how to help the service providers provide better service to their customers, kind of without that intervening layers. What's kind of the big, this obviously makes a lot of sense to the telcos. What's been the big kind of aha moment that you get across to your customers today that makes them go, "Oh, I get it"? What's that last kind of piece that closes that gap from understanding to turn them into customers, like with SoftBank, et cetera?
Sure. I think that the aha moment for them is that this can be done in a way that's they control the data.
Okay.
So we have our software running in their data center, and then we have our advertising infrastructure running in the cloud, but they're able to control the data in their own data center. So this is very important for them, because they would never want to participate in this kind of a business if they thought that their consumer data was at any risk. So that has been, I think, the light bulb that led them to support this and go forward.
Okay, so basically we protect your relationship with your customer and do revenue at the same time.
Exactly.
And then Mo, you guys are kind of early, not quite to the revenue stage yet, but you recently announced Nigel as your kind of, tell us about Nigel.
Yeah, so Nigel is the name of our AI. We believe we're the first one to build an artificial intelligence that comprehends what it's learning. So it's not just about recognizing an object from an image or recognizing words, but actually observing the world and understanding what you're observing and understanding what you're learning. So we are currently in beta stage. We have beta users, and we're asking them to raise Nigel. Raise Nigel to learn, so that Nigel learns what their problems and challenges are, and Nigel can start looking for solutions for them. So we're trying to say we're not necessarily trying to solve a business problem in the telco world, but the side effect of solving people problem is a huge benefit to anyone who operates a network or manufactures connected devices.
So irrespective of child support payments for raising Nigel, how does that work in terms of as from what I understand is that part of the architecture is that some of Nigel lives in the device, some of Nigel lives in the cloud. And given how much Nigel's learning about individuals, how do you then address some of the privacy issues that we've already been talking about that Cinarra has? Because my Nigel might be different than their Nigel, but if they're talking, what does that mean?
Yeah, so we believe people should own their own data. That's number one. So instead of having all these connected devices connect to a single company's server farm and where they are automating data acquisition about you, we envision a world where all your devices and all your apps that you're using connect to your personal cloud, as we call it. And so what we're doing is saying we're going to open source this personal cloud technology. You can host it on any server you want, anywhere in the world you want. It's your data. In the ideal world, we don't host anyone's data. Not true from day one, but we want people to take their clouds and move them somewhere where they have full control over it. So what we want to become is delivering intelligent technology to the as an infrastructure, to devices and to networks. Our goal is not to be another middleman. We don't want to have any data. We don't want to make money on data. We just want to license the AI technology so that devices and basically so that the entire internet transforms from being a passive network to a proactive network.
Okay. So then imagine a situation in which I've got a Nigel on my devices and it's talking about my different things, and it calls up Bill and says, Bill, I need some ads for John because of what he's interested in, and he's been talking a lot about his wife's birthday. He hasn't gotten a gift yet. So how do we help that? Walk through a scenario where you would kind of plug into like a Cinarra systems.
Well,
and then Bill vice versa, yeah.
A real use case a demo use case we did about a year and a half ago. And this use case, just forget privacy for 1 second. We had this dinner party thing going on, and we found a recipe we added to the shopping list. And got to the grocery store, my device or Nigel automatically went out and found the shopping list, brought it up on the screen. Then I went to the dairy aisle, and because milk was a part of the recipe. And Nigel went out and found some more code because he needed the shopping list to do something he was programmed to do. So brought some more code in, and that code allowed the device to warn me that buying milk might get one of my guests sick because one of my guests is lactose intolerant. And basically advised me to get a lactose-free milk of some sort. So that's from a consumer perspective, but what it showed was Nigel understood why you were at the grocery store and understood why you were buying milk. It wasn't about going to the grocery store and being bombarded with all these ads that the grocery store is trying to push down your throat. It was understanding why you're there and trying to help you achieve your goal.
Okay. So what you're saying, what I'm hearing is that there's actually wouldn't work with an ad network like Cinarra. Okay. All right. That's going to be it. Okay. So you really is versus. You're trying to poke a stick at everybody's eye.
We're trying. See, this is what we've heard so many times from companies who are getting into the connected world. The moment you put Android on a device or you put a Facebook application on a device, they immediately lose control of that device. They lose control of the customer, they lose control of the monetization opportunity. And we've heard, I'm not going to mention the names, but we heard a car company say that they're going to hold off on delivering connected cars. This was back in 2012. I know they just released connected cars. But they wanted to hold off until they found a way out of the OTT trap. So if we want to get to this future where everything is connected, what we want to prove is if you create a device, a connected device, and it goes out to the real world and makes money, then that money should go back to the maker, not to some company sitting in the middle controlling everything.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know this, but the OTT world, or the middleman layer as we call it, there's thousands of them. They make over $2 trillion today. That's $2 trillion that device manufacturers, network operators are giving away, basically leaving on the table for these OTTs to take on. So what we're saying is, if we can get devices and networks to become intelligent and they create these peer-to-peer connections on the network, that $2 trillion doesn't disappear. We're still going to buy stuff, companies still going to advertise, but now we can move that money back to device manufacturer and network operators, and hopefully get other manufacturers to start thinking about what will their products start doing if they add connectivity and sensors to screens to their product. And I think the best way to get to the super connected, intelligent future is to make the supply chain leaner. And that's not rocket science. That's what we've done in business for over a century, using innovation to remove middlemen.
Okay. And Bill, you guys are sort of doing this today by helping the carriers monetize what they have in a safe way. I mean, you even call it monetization as a service. And as you guys look at kind of allowing the carriers to take part in that conversation that the OTTs are doing today with consumers, obviously the privacy piece is a big deal. What are the other things that you're finding within the carriers that they need to change or be ready for as you guys roll out with these deployments?
This is a whole new business for them. This is something that they don't, or up until recently haven't had intimate knowledge about. So just in terms of how the whole ecosystem works with advertising agencies and developing sales organizations and just how the ad business works, that's obviously been something new for them. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, it's a big opportunity, and so that's why they're excited to participate in it. Makes sense, because usually telcos are buying ads, they're not selling ads. And so how much of that does Cinarra take on, and how much of that do you enable? Is there a boot camp or something? So the sort of the cash flows go from advertising agencies through our platform, and then we share those revenues with the mobile operator. So sometimes the mobile operator themselves can be a buyer of ads, but generally speaking, it's actually other agencies who are advertising on the behalf of whatever customers they have.
A Nike, a Coca-Cola.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly. So then we do a rev share.
Okay. And in that case, basically the carriers, in exchange for sharing in a private way their customer data, they get a new revenue source that they don't.
So they're actually not sharing their customer data. They're keeping it themselves.
Right.
And we have a sort of a layer that we don't even access it, or we don't even see it. But our system works on a system of recommendations. So the way that we're able to scale this business is, a lot of carriers now have small ad networks. We're not an ad network at all. We connect with what are called ad exchanges. Ad exchanges are effectively aggregators of tens of thousands of websites and apps so for example, when you open up a website or an app, it generates what's called a bid request. Mm-hmm. And the bid request basically says, hey, I'm an available piece of real estate on a website or app, and bidders out there, bid to show an ad on my slots. So what that allows us to do is actually take operators from their own kind of walled gardens, where they had tried to create an app ecosystem themselves,
right,
which is not scalable, because really, who wants to download a mobile operator app? They're not fun, right? No. You want to get your apps from Google and Apple, and
right. So and leverage the exchanges already in place. Then.
Exactly. So the exchanges help bring those apps that consumers like to use into the ecosystem to make them monetizable. So this is, I'd say, maybe to go back to your original question, another aha moment, which is that the advertiser or the operator saw that there's a big opportunity for scale outside their own small walled garden of apps that they develop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense too, right? Yeah. Because AT&T has the, I have to P app, but there's more other things around that. Any questions from the audience around this? This is versus and within OTT and helping telcos monetize what they have today. Anyone? Okay. So now let's talk about scale at some level. Mo, you talked about the $2 trillion that the OTT guys are making on top of and without sharing with device manufacturers and service providers. So let's go back to dollars and cents here a little bit. Bill at Cinarra, how do you guys see the opportunity for telcos all in? Is this because of the location data you're able to get? Does this make their ads more valuable to those in the networks? Are you finding that the uptake for places like South Bank are generating enough revenues to kind of be sufficiently interesting for the carriers? You're going to go, oh, that pays for our entire 5G rollout if we do this, or what's the kind of the scale here? It's got to be more than Starbucks money.
No, it's very serious money. So the agencies who are the ones who work on behalf of advertisers love this because it's giving them, right now the digital advertising world is still kind of in a desktop mindset.
Okay.
Where consumer behavior is derived from effectively cookies.
Tracking cookies, yes.
Tracking cookies that are used to determine, so for example, you might be a golfer because you visited some golf websites. So mobile is completely different than desktop. It's immediate and it's location based. So we've taken that concept of interest inferment from web browsing to actually location visits.
It's a true context.
Right, exactly. So this is something that the agencies really like because it allows them to reach the right consumer at the right time. Similarly, if they don't know exactly what kind of consumer, let's say behavioral segment or interest segment that they want to reach, they can run campaigns that are untargeted, and our reporting suite will tell them, this campaign that you ran really resonated well with golfers who are also wine lovers,
okay,
but not soccer fans.
Got it. Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
So then they can take those insights and then go on to the next step. Other platforms don't give them this ability. Also, we have the ability to measure venue visits.
Okay.
So if we're advertising for a particular venue, consumer sees the advertisement and then walks in, and we can do statistics on that in terms of percentage of people who've seen the ads and walked in versus those who haven't seen the ads and walked in.
True performance information.
Exactly.
Right.
So offline conversion, so bringing additional dimensions. And this is something that advertisers really love.
So you can measure the half of the marketing that actually works then.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Now, Mo, with Nigel learning the way Nigel does, which I don't know, but how does Nigel then share across that? Because, if I've got my own personal cloud, I'm using Nigel for myself. And so Nigel's paying attention to all the things around me. It's learning things tailored to my own context. How do you then share the learnings from other Nigels? Are there certain patterns that kind of get shared back up to the home office? Is there some Uber Nigel with a capital N some other place? With a deep voice, I'm Nigel. I mean, how does that start to come into play in terms of the sharing across to do some of the same kind of behavioral pieces? Because I'm sure that there's lessons to be learned from other Nigels that would help make Nigel smarter.
Yes. Just to give you an example, we launched August 5th. If that's a Friday, I think it's around August 5th.
Okay.
And we cheated. We gave every beta user free movie tickets.
Okay.
And we told them, go to the movies and please do what you're supposed to do and silence your phone. And the following Monday, Nigel had learned from observing many people that silencing your phone at the movie theaters is a common sense thing to do. So anyone with a Nigel on their phone today going into a movie theater will see their phone automatically get silenced and their screen brightness go down. So it does learn, it learns two things. It learns common sense, which we define as the normal thing many people do. And it learns personal sense. I don't know if that's a word. Give an example of that. Before we launched, we've had Nigel running for a while, and Nigel had learned that when I go to a restaurant with my wife, to reject all incoming calls except for my babysitter.
Okay.
And had learned that just from me rejecting incoming calls and always picking up when the babysitter calls. So yeah, it does learn common sense and your individual preferences. And that's done on the network level, and that's eventually what we want to license to network operators so they can run this core algorithm on their own network, infuse it with their own business logic. But yeah, it does learn from many people as well as.
So you begin with common and individual. Okay, so if you are the outlier, Nigel will do different things. So if you always go to the movie theater and turn your screen up really bright so you can annoy the people next to you, it will do that.
We tested that, and that actually it does actually.
That's hilarious. So I can be that guy. I can have that Nigel.
Yeah.
Okay.
hopefully we can train the other Nigels to ignore your Nigel.
Ignore that Nigel? Yeah, that becomes important. Because you don't want to have like what happened with the Microsoft chatbot, where they trained it to become a racist jerk, right? I don't want that Nigel. Any last questions for the guys on the stage at this stage? All right, with that, please help me in thanking these two gentlemen for sharing us about the versus and of OTT versus telco.